humanitarian law, which is about the war law, armed conflict law. And the day is very special because our guest is a very well-known expert about the international humanitarian law, but not only from the theory basis, but also the institution that is coming from is also an related institution in the practice and practical obligations, and also the experience, hundreds of years of experience in the armed conflict zones. So it will be a very fruitful session for you to experience on the volunteerism program. And I want to talk about the modality. I mean, we'll be glad to have your inputs, comments at the end of the session. And please raise your hands to ask video questions to our esteemed panelists, esteemed trainer of today's session. And if your internet connection is not satisfactory enough, don't worry. You can ask the questions directly to me in the private section and other co-hosts to let me raise your question to our esteemed panelists. And I want now give a very brief information about Mr. Hassan. Hassan Aktan is an expert in International Relations Department of the Turkish Red Crescent, and he has contributed as an instructor to the Civil Military Interaction Cooperation course, and also he have an active experience in the Comoros and Uganda, and he is also a participant of the International Humanitarian Law courses of University of Ottawa with the Canadian Red Cross in the Canada. So I want now to give the floor to our esteemed trainer of today's session, Mr. Hassan. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm not in the vacation, by the way, because you see maybe the sea and the beach. It is just from the Zoom to make my presentation more enjoyable. So I would like to celebrate the Eid al-Fitr, and I hope the next Eid al-Fitr will be more wonderful than this one, because I know a lot of us we couldn't kiss the hand of our grandfather, grandmother, and we try to keep our soul when we are staying alone. So I hope the next years will be more wonderful for all of us. As Mr. Ahmed introduced me, I will say that again, my name is Hassan Aktan. I'm working for Red Crescent for 3 years. I have some experience abroad and inside. So today I will give you some summary and general information. I will not enter the details of international humanitarian law because I know maybe the majority of you are not a lawyer or you don't have the basic information about law. So I will be more basic, and you don't have be stressed or terrible by when you hear that humanitarian law. It's just the name. Actually, it's more enjoyable, and I hope that we can do next year in Antalya in Turkey, as the last year we did, to can make a question and answer in the same time, more interactive. But this year is also okay. We will do 1 minute. I will share with you my presentation. So we will give the introduction about international humanitarian law as I did as two session because we can't talk for 1 hour without take a break. So the first session after we finish, it would be 60 question. You will write it in 10 minutes, okay, and then you will answer. So I would like to be all of you. I would like all of you be more focused, more focusing to get more information about this subject. And the second session, after the second session, in the last we have case study. All of you, I hope you will like it, and I'm sure you will like it because the last year participants, as you, they did like it, and actually because I'm just like you, I'm student, I am doctorate student, so I think I can understand you if the teacher talk too much and not enjoyable. Maybe you will not be focused, and after 40 minutes you can't be also focused. So I'm understanding all of these conditions, so you can be comfortable. The first session would be about the Red Crescent and Red Cross movement. What is our humanitarian movement? What we have to do when it is created. And after that, we will talk about International Humanitarian Law (IHL), the definition, how it created, how it would be in the past and now. Historical development, we will talk about also sources of IHL. Then we will take question and answer. Because I also we will talk about historical development of Islam. In Islam, there is some examples of IHL. The second session, it will be more practical, civilian rights under IHL, emblems of Red Cross and Red Crescent, and five basic principles of IHL. So I'm sorry to cannot take your question directly, but we will take it in the last of the presentation. Now we start with the International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement. I think all of you and any human around the world hear about this movement, because every country has Red Crescent or Red Cross. So I think all your countries have Red Cross or Red Crescent. The movement, which has three components. The first one is ICRC, which is International Committee of the Red Cross. This is created actually before the First World War. That time, because the idea of ICRC to create ICRC, a lot of war around the world, and they see that nobody can help these sick and wounded people, especially the soldiers, when they wounded during the war. There is nobody treated them. So some of European countries say, why we don't create special impartial committee? This committee, all of us, we will not attack. We will not give this committee any. We will not make it face any dangers during the war. So we will give this committee the special protection. So they agreed, and after that they say, why we don't create every country one special committee, one special Red Cross and Red Crescent? Why we just make a Red committee of Red Cross? So all countries accepted and tried to create one impartial committee. It will be the Red Cross and Osmanli Empire. That time they say that we need a crescent. We don't use cross, so they make the cross and the crescent. And 2005, they also admitted a new emblem. It is a crystal. So now we have Red Cross, Red Crescent, and Red Crystal, which is known around the world. So, do you know how many Red Cross and Red Crescent there are around the world? Actually, I'm wondering if you know how many country has Red Cross and Red Crescent. If you can write in the chat, also I can see. How many country has the Red Cross and Red Crescent? There is answer 180,
Yeah, we have lots of answers. 196.
96,
Yeah.
130. No.
120.
Yes, there is Karim who said 191. It is the true one. Thank you, Karim. We turn back to our presentation. So now there is 191 Red Crescent and Red Cross. Especially the Muslim country has the Red Crescent almost, but there is some countries they don't have Red Crescent, they have Red Cross, like Lebanon or Kosovo or Bosnia, like some Muslim who has the Muslim country who has Muslim community who has also Red Cross. So you don't have to be surprised if you see that Muslim country has a cross. So it's just emblem for humanity activity, which is give protection for doing our duty during the war and peacetime also. Now I will finish the component with the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent. This federation is for coordinating between these Red Cross and Red Crescent. It doesn't have too much mission or duties around the world as the ICRC during the war. It's especially for disasters, for the disaster and some other humanitarian situation, refugees or some kind of that, and to coordinate between the nation societies. The movement mission, all the movement, Red Cross, ICRC, IFRC, or nation societies, is to prevent or alleviate humanitarian suffering, protect life and health, ensure respect for humankind, work for prevention of disease, encourage voluntary service, foster universal sense for protection and assistance toward all those in need. So it's simple. We have to prevent and alleviate human suffering, protect the health, show respect for humankind in all countries around the world. So we are working as one. We will explain it also in principle. So the origin of IHL, now we are talking about the IHL, founded by the nation societies founded by IHL, by International Humanitarian Law. So the International Humanitarian Law, which is created by ICRC, give special protecting and give every country the right to create its own committee, its own impartial humanitarian society. So the Geneva Convention, which is held in 1863, each country should have a committee assisting the army medical services in time of war, as I mentioned before. So after this conference, they say, why we don't create our society? This committee shall supply relief to their representative armies, to their own country army, provide and organize voluntary medical personnel placed under military command. The committee also has special uniform and special sign, a white armlet with a red cross, as you see, red cross or red crescent with white background. The personnel of Red Cross and Red Crescent has the basic and the symbol also missions during the war. They have to treat the wounded and sick of the armed forces, prevention the disease, and also administration of army medical units and establishments. So we work during as nation societies, Red Cross and Red Crescent, we have two time for work. The first one is during the peacetime. We are working as supportive to our countries. We are working as supportive in humanitarian field to organize services, social programs, relief, health during disaster or other natural crises. And during the wartime, which is made by man, these times we are working as medical services almost. And also there is many additional humanitarian tasks, emergency shelter for the refugees, food and medicine, water and sanitations. Now we are talking about the 7 principles. Please don't forget these principles, because if you will apply one day for working to Red Cross or Red Crescent, they will ask you what is the 7 principles. So we have to save all of these 7 principles. And it's also easy, because we're talking about humanity, we're talking about impartiality. Humanity, we work people, human. We are working for a human, not for systems, not for state. We are working for human. So impartiality, we care for victims. We don't look if the victims is near to our ideology or not. We are talking if he is victim, that he is our goal. But if we don't look if he is innocent, if he attacker or other. When he wounded, when the people are in suffering, we have to help them as a human. We don't look the policy side. Neutrality, we take the initiative but never take sides. Independence, we are not directed by countries or by kings. We are directed by needs. If there is needs, there is national society. Voluntary service, we work round the clock but never line our pockets. Unity, we have many ideas but only one deal. So all of us, we have unity, we have the same mission, the same vision we are working under. Universality, we respect nations but cross borders to help. So we are working in our country, but if it is necessary, if there is need, we cross the border. Of course, with taking the permission of the country we go. There is a 2-minute introduction video about principles to make it more clear. If our friend
dear brother Suleiman,
yes.
Could you open the first video that is shared by Mr. Hassan? Thank you.
Humanitarian aid is about reaching out to save lives, reduce suffering, and support human dignity in times of crisis. Getting help to people in critical need is usually difficult, always challenging, occasionally impossible. The The four humanitarian principles emerged after the Second World War to make sure that we can get help to those who need it, whoever they are, and whatever the challenges involved. Humanity is a simple but fundamental idea that we should respond to human suffering wherever it is found. Impartiality means that those who need help get it, whatever their race, religion, gender, nationality, class, or political opinion. We don't discriminate. The principle of neutrality is that humanitarian workers don't take sides. This protects them as well as the people they are helping, especially in conflict zones. And finally, independence means that humanitarian aid does not serve any political, military, economic, or other goals. It is just there to help. These principles protect the lives of humanitarian workers while they do their job, whatever the challenges of the political and security environment, and help them access those who really need our support by bringing down the barriers created by war and mistrust. The European Union is committed to upholding and promoting these humanitarian principles.
Thank you, Mr. Suleiman. Before we turn to the presentation, I would like to know how many of you are studying the law or graduated from the law department. Can you share? Can you raise your hand?
For the participants, I mean, our esteemed trainer is requesting who are training, who are getting the education of law, and also, Mr. Hassan, we can include that international relations students who are studying international law.
Yes, also yes,
and,
yes. Thank you for the addition.
Who are studying in a relevant departments with the international humanitarian law.
Yes.
Could you kindly raise hands for figuring out?
Yes, international relations or law.
And also, I'm kindly requesting from the ICYF team to inform me the number to avoid any skipping about this issue.
I couldn't get the question.
Yes, we have from some. Yeah, we have also one brother, Mr. Sah Hussein, is mentioning that he's graduating from the social work.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that means we must be more, how can I say, explained, because we would enter a little bit low, not too much. Don't worry. Also, it will not be difficult. So, as you see, there is 7 principles. If you apply to the cross and the crescent, you must know it. And we will share the link with you also to see it again or to learn more about ICRC and nation societies of Red Cross and Red Crescent. This nation society created to identify the medical service during the war, and they has special protection, as I mentioned before. This emblem give us the mission, which is mission, the impartial humanity, the impartial. So we don't work with any country. So during the war, we have special protection because we are impartial humanitarian assistance, not like other NGOs. Okay, do you make sense? Because the other NGOs have other mission. There is just one nation society for each country. For example, in Turkey, we have Turkish Red Crescent. This has this emblem. This emblem cannot be used by other NGOs, and other NGOs cannot be protected as the nation societies because they have this emblem according Geneva Conventions. We will mention about it again when we come to it. Now we talk about there is 191 91 right now in the world, in each country. The role during the armed conflict, when there is armed conflict, when there is war, we are working according to these 7 principles. And if we are working during these 7 principles, the party to the conflict or the party country or nation or armed group, they cannot ask us to change our system or change, they cannot stop us. Okay, so if there is a occupying power, they cannot require us change in personnel or structure during our humanitarian works. So this is also a good point to know. So what is the humanitarian law? The humanitarian law, I will give it to you in just 2 words. Okay, in just 2 words. If you know these 2 words, you will know what is IHL. Okay, IHL is the rules. Okay, some rules which is aimed to 2 things. The first one, protecting the persons who did take not part in the armed conflict, who civilian, medical personnel, like you students, or any media personnel. All of these, they are civilian. They are not taking part to the war. They are not taking part to the armed conflict. So the rule make ensuring to protecting for protecting these people. Okay, this is the first one. And the other one, some other rules which is make some limiting. Okay, some limiting to using the power, to using the weapon. Okay, so it regulates, or you can say limits, regulates or limits the means and methods of conflict. So the soldier can say, not I am in the war because I want to gain this war, I can do what I want to do. I can attack to civilian. No, he can't do that. And at the same time, if there is, for example, a soldier give up or be sick or be down, he is not he cannot continue the war, the participating in the war. So that time, for example, the other soldier cannot attack to him because he is not soldier right now. He is wounded, for example. He is in ground. You can't attack to him. So there is regulate to the methods or means or weapons or power. So you can say regulates the power, the using of power, the using of weapons, and the other one protecting the civilian. Okay, this is what is the IHL. Okay, again, protecting and regulations, or you can say limiting the using of power. Okay, this is what is IHL. It's very basic, and you don't have to be terrible about IHL and law and other. And there is also, as Mr. Ahmed said, some of international relations students, they take also this lesson. So it's not difficult. It applies just in the war, if it is international war or non-international war. Okay, if there is international armed conflict or non-international armed conflict, I will explain it, what is international, what is non-international. If there is existing of the war, there is existing of the law of international humanitarian law. But if there is no law, we are living in the peacetime, as now in Turkey. We don't have any law in Turkey. Inside Turkey, I'm talking. We don't have to apply the international humanitarian law. In Turkey, we don't need a humanitarian law. But for example, in Syria or in other countries, for example, in Libya, in Iraq, some conflict places, they have to use international humanitarian law. Okay, I make it as just example. We have other examples, of course. So there is just in bellum, which is meaning war, law in war. So this is IHL, just in bellum. But there is just ad bellum, law on the use of force, or the other one just contra bellum, law on the prevention of law. So if one country want to begin a new war against other country, we are in ICRC, in IHL, we don't look if you can open or not open. So some countries say my border is under attack, so I want to save my border, so I need to open a war against this country or open war against this armed group. So this time, United Nations law is existing, which is meaning just ad bellum or just contra bellum. But in IHL, we just starting in the beginning of the war. After the war existing, IHL is applying. After the war is finished or end, that means IHL is end. Okay, so we are just applying IHL during the war time, just during the war time. Don't forget, IHL is just for two things: protecting humanitarian, protecting civilian, and who is not party to the conflict, who is not a soldier. So we don't protecting the soldier fighting with each other. We just protecting the civilian as you, who is not party to the conflict. And the other one, which is meaning regulation the using of power, the using of weapons. Okay.
Mr. Hassan, so sorry. This point is very important. I want to clarify one point. When you're mentioning war, is all of the armed conflicts are defined as war, or I mean, in the legal definition, war is between the two states. Is there the diversification about this issue? Definition of war in the case of the law?
Yes, it is here. We will explain it after three. It's a good question. Thank you. I will explain it.
Thank you very much, because it's a very important point to understand.
Yes, it's very good. It's very good question, because now some people say there is war in Turkey because we fighting with terrorists. I'm talking about Turkey. They're saying that there is a war in Turkey because Turkey is fighting against terrorist group or some of that kind. But there is no war. Turkey said there is no war because this terrorist group not organized. I will explain it. It's a good question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hassan. We are watching very carefully.
Yes. So we have two rules for protecting the civilian. The other one is regulating the using of power, the means and methods of power. Okay. So this is IHL. Starting with starting of war and finish with the war is ending. I will talk I know some of you don't know about the law, so I will explain to you what is the international law. There is two main law, the private and public. The private for me and you as individual, as citizen, if we have a problem with each other, it is private law, commercial or divorcing issue. All of this is private law. But public law, it means country with country. Okay, the law is binding the countries, the states. Okay, so we have in republic law, as you see, law of peace. During the peacetime, there is human rights, there is other issues, law issues. It's not IHL. IHL is just law of armed conflict, law in war, as I told you. So there is, as I told you, roles of hostilities to protection. We don't forget. I will ask you, and Geneva Conventions and customary law. I will explain it now. As I told you, IHL aims to minimize the pain suffering caused by conflict and limits the hostility by military operations. Now we're coming to Mr. Ahmed's question. According to IHL, armed conflict is divided to two main types. The first one is international armed conflict, okay, which is mean between two countries or more than two countries. For example, the First World War, it was for too much countries. It is international conflict, okay? As 1990, the war between Iraq and Kuwait, it was international conflict. Non-international armed conflict, it's mean between Syrian country, for example, and Free Syrian Army, okay? So here the question, the good question of Mr. Ahmed, which is asking, every war is war under IHL? Is not. Why? To criticize, admitting the armed group and to say that there is non-international armed conflict existing, we need two conditions. The first one, the armed group must be big, okay, and has good weapons and has a leader, for example. They must be organized. According to IHL, they said it must be organized. So it cannot be protests. For example, now there is some, in the past, there is some protest, for example, in Turkey, and the government with police, they make against them some convention, some attacked or other act against them. So this is not war. It is just the police try to make the country more safety. So there is some people, they are not organized. They don't have, for example, the leader or there is some condition must be organized, this group, to be non-international armed conflict. Otherwise, if there is a protest for something, it doesn't mean that there is a war. There is just a short time. And the other condition, it must be high tension, okay? It must be high tension and long time. If it is long time, for example, I don't know, there is 42 years FARC, which is FARC organized armed group in Colombia. It was against the Colombia country. It was fighting for 52 years. For example, this is, and they were very organized. They have a good weapons or other. So they were a non-international armed group, for example. So we can't say if every place there is a war in this country. So we have to apply IHL. If there is non-international armed conflict, that means the armed group which is fighting against the country must be organized. For example, some of them say that Daesh, it was organized because they have a leader. We can't do any hostility before they ask him, because before they take his permission, for example. So they must be organized, okay? They have a very good, some condition, they must be controlled, some places as that. Do I make sense, Mr. Ahmed?
It is very good explanation. Thank you. I mean, so the definition of the war varies. I mean, each armed conflict is not categorized as a war. There is a law for it. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So it's not any war. We can see it is non-international armed conflict.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the historical of IHL, they say the Geneva Convention, which was 1864, they make a convention, but not all countries around the world signed it. So they say that it's not formal. Okay, it was just idea to create IHL, humanitarian law. Then they say Hague Convention, which we say Lahai Convention at the same time. They make also some addition to Geneva Convention. Geneva Convention 1864, it was for protecting the people, the civilian people, the wounded soldier, treated the soldier like that. But Hague Conference and the Lahai Conventions, the same, Hague and Lahai. So these conferences say we must limit the using of force. So the soldier cannot using the weapon free without control. So after that, 1949, 4 Geneva Conventions, which is signed by 196 countries around the world. By this convention, IHL created. Okay, so IHL created by 1949 by for Geneva Convention. I will explain it also what is for Geneva Convention. 196 country signed this agreement. So this agreement admitted by it is now known by all the countries around the world. As we know, the United Nations now admitted about 196, as I remember. So all the United Nations admitted countries, they are also signed this agreement. So it is now all the world known as this law must be binding by all countries around the world. And they said that we must make some additional protocol, 1977, because they see that now we have some technology. They say the wars also now is changed. There is non-international more than the international, non-international there is. So they say we must do additional protocols. So they do 2 additional protocols. The first one is for international armed conflict. The other one, the second additional protocol is for non-international armed conflict. Okay, but these additional protocols not signed by all countries like the Geneva Conventions. Unfortunately, there is some countries does not accept to sign yet. They say we don't need to sign, so it is not binding like the convention, the 4 Geneva Convention. But I will explain it to you by the customary law. It will be binding. Okay, I will explain it when I come. But we see as Muslims, IHL Geneva Convention 1864 is not the first idea of IHL. The first idea of IHL, it was also in Islam. When we remember in Quran, they say, fight in the cause of Allah those who fight you, but do not begin hostilities. Allah does not love aggressors. So what is saying that they say, Quran say to Muslim soldier, don't attack, don't start hostility, don't start. Okay, but if they attack to you, you can make self defense. Okay, as exactly what is IHL or United Nations say. And we have also other example. Hazreti Abu Bakr radiyallahu anh say what for to Usama bin Zayd, which was the leader of the Islamic army that time, say to him, don't destroy the dead body, distort the dead body, don't kill child or old man or woman. You see, it is civilian. He said, don't kill civilian. Okay, don't cut tree at the same time. Don't slaughter a sheep or cow if you will not eat. You see, this is also IHL, the same of IHL. The sources of IHL is three. The first one for Geneva Convention, okay, which is the main sources. I will explain to you why it is main, and it is additional protocol and other international agreement. But there is a problem, you know, because the additional agreement, 1 minute, I will explain the additional agreement when I come to it. Now, for Geneva Convention 1949, the first one, it's all the same, okay, to protect the wounded and the civilian people, okay, during the war. And the second one during the war, which is held in the sea. The third one is treating, it means humanitarian treating to the prisoners of war. And the fourth one is protecting the civilian. Okay, and it's additional protocol, as I told you. The first one, protection of victims in international humanitarian law. The other one is non-international humanitarian law. It has 28 articles, and this one has 102 articles. There is other agreements, Convention of Biological Weapons, which forbidden this kind of weapons, and chemical weapons, and prohibition of anti-personnel mines in the Ottawa Treaty. All this agreement and other agreements also, it's to limit the using of power. You see, but unfortunately, not all the countries around the world accepted it. So, if some countries say, I will not do my war or conduct my war according, for example, Geneva Gas Protocol, okay, because I didn't sign, okay. So ICRC, what they did, they created the international customary law of IHL, which is mean ethical law. It's ahlaki law, okay. I know you all Muslims know about ahlak, you know. For example, we talk about ethical, you know, it is ethical or not ethical. It's, for example, if your neighbor want to sleep at night, it is not ethical to make a noise for them. You know, if they write at law, for example, you cannot make a noise for your neighbor. You say, I will, but if they don't write, I will not. It's not ethical, you know. Not everything must write in the law. For example, the rape is forbidden in all religion, in all cultures. You know, they don't have to write it is ethical, okay. But the problem in customary law, they say that okay, it's customary, but I don't know, because I born, for example, in other country, I came to other country, I don't know their ethical, their customary law, you know. So they say, ICRC, we will, the decision in the International Crescent Conference, which is held 1995, they say we will gather IHL experts of the different geography, from the different region, okay, and from the different systems, from the different culture. We will bring all these experts, and they will sit together and write this ethical law, okay. And this ethical law, they take also some Geneva Convention and some additional protocols, and they say they take some of other agreements. 1 minute, sorry. And from the other international agreements. Okay, so all this agreement, almost of them, it is written in the customary law. So it is to make the ethical law more real. Okay, so it published by ICRC in 2005. So there is a book. It is its name International Customary Law. Okay, it consists. It's about 161 rules. Now we will take 10 minutes. I will give it to you to read the questions and to answer. Okay. I hope all of you can join this activity to make your to make your information be more sure. So we will take 10 minutes now. You can take 1 minute. What is the time now?
I think it is 3 to 2, so we have 10 minutes.
Okay.
10 minutes. So what should be the model? Should we receive by email, or do you want them to write?
I think because you are coordinator, maybe you can be more than me in this idea.
Okay.
But I'm thinking if we can do chat, maybe it is if you have other idea.
Okay. Then we want our dear esteemed participants to send their answers through chat privately to the to the chat in 10 minutes.
I don't know if we can make if they can raise their hand and answer. Maybe it would be difficult.
So you're advising of video answers. So let's do it like that. Let's ask the questions and request from participants to answer them with video. So it will make it much more not for answering from the chat, but maybe we can do it live. So for the first question, to those who wants to answer the question, please raise your hand.
Exactly, I agree with you.
So we will go one by one, which will make the session much more interactive. What are the 7 principles of Red Cross and Crescent societies? Could you explain? So our esteemed participants, is there anyone who wants to answer that question live? If so, please raise your hands. Yes, so we have lots of hands rising. Mr. Hassan.
Yes.
So you can give the floor if you want, or let me give the floor if you allow me. So I want to give the first question answer to the Miss Melek from Tunisia.
Yes.
And so if the our ISWF
Yes, please.
If the ISWF Secretariat could unmute Miss Melek. Yes, Miss Melek, can you hearing us well?
Hello, can you hear me?
I'm so sorry. I'm Mr. Malik.
Hello.
Yes, we are hearing you very well, Mr. Malik. Could you tell us your answer to the first question?
Okay, the 7 principles of Red Crescent and are humanity, neutrality, independent, unity, universality, voluntary service, and impartiality.
Excellent. Can you explain one? Just one. Can you explain one?
Can I humanity to protect civilian.
Yes. So humanity, it means we serve civilian, we serve people. Thank you. Okay, we can take the other question.
Yes, the second question is the IHL applied just in blah blah time. So who wants to answer this question? If you could raise your hands. Let me check. Alhamdulillah, there's lots of participants, so even going through the scrolling down the screen is even taking
MashaAllah.
long. So for the second question, IHL applied just in blah blah time. Who wants to answer this question?
It's easy one. Just
Yes.
one word.
Just one word. I think Mr. Kerim Kabarif, Egyptian from Qatar. Yes, brother Kerim.
Okay, IHL applied just in wartime.
Whole time.
Excellent. Yes.
Excellent.
Just
Thank you.
in wartime.
Thank you very much, brother Kerim. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we are going to do our third question. It is IHL aims to blah blah and blah blah. So what will be the true fill in the blanks?
We take two things. Every time we mention about it. The rules, which is aim to.
So I want to give floor to the Esnaira Salam from Philippines. Yes, dear Esnaira Salam. What will be your answer?
So the aim of IHL applies to the protection of those people who are not participating in war, and the second is to the regulation of means of the conducting of war, or the methods of the conducting of war.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. And fourth question is IHL is under private or public law? And what are the two main type of armed conflict according to IHL with examples not mentioned in the presentation? I think the important part of this question is not mentioned in this presentation.
Yes, exactly. The last year in Antalya, there is they give 3 examples. The youth they participate last year. They give 3 examples. I hope this year we can get just one. Okay, because we don't have too much time, but at least we can get one, I think.
Yes. So I am seeing again lots of hands here, but let me read the question again. We are at the first question 4, which is IHL is under private or public law, and what are the two main type of armed conflict according to the IHL with example, but not mentioned in the presentation. So those who wants to answer these questions, this is a more important question, please raise your hands.
Actually, I'm talking about the Islamic history. There is 3 examples. I'm sorry. There is. It's not a big problem. We can take one example, but I'm talking about the example of Islamic history. Islamic.
Okay.
So it's easy one.
Let me give the floor to brother Ahmed Sobhi from Egypt, who is rising his hand. Yes.
I think IHL is under public law, and the two main types are international and non-international. Examples for international, like the war between the previous war between Egypt and Israel, and non-international, like the war between the government of Yemen and Houthi movement. Thank you.
Yes, excellent. But now there is no war, I think, between Egypt and you talk about the past.
It's a past example.
Yes, for example, 73, I think, 1973,
Yes.
you mean. Excellent. Thank you. Now the important question, Mr. Ahmed.
Yes, just give me a second because yes. Give an example of IHL in Islamic history. Yes, it's a very, very important question. So I want to, yes, I want to see that those hands want to answer this important question. But Alhamdulillah, we are very active participants, but I want to see those who does not involve to the session yet for different phases, different sounds we want to involve. So let me repeat again. This is the important fifth question. Give an example of IHL in Islamic history.
Which is protecting civilian or protecting church, mosques, a human.
Okay, I want to give now floor to Miss Mariam Albetul Nage. Sorry for me if I'm not able to pronounce the name very well. Yes, Miss Mariam.
Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, asked his Sahaba and his friends when going to any kind of war or fighting, not to kill kids or children or an old man or woman or any civilian, and to not to cut any tree or to kill any kind of animal except they will eat. That's it. Thank you.
Yes,
thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a good. You were very focusing in the presentation. Thank you for this focusing. I need a new example.
So do you have any other new example for the question?
The last year they gave it 3. We just need 1. It's 1 for Prophet Muhammad and 1 for the other. I don't want to take one leader, one Muslim leader.
Yes, Esnaria Salam from Philippines wants to contribute, so I'm giving floor to her.
Yes, so I think one of the things that I remember is that during war, especially in the times of the Prophet, those, especially when they win, the people whom they captured, or what we call now the prisoners of war, they treated them with dignity. So they did not torture them, they did not abuse them. And that is one significant aspect of international humanitarian law, that when you have prisoners of war, you don't torture them just because you already won. You have this capacity to do things over them. So it should be remembered.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Very good. I thank you, especially Mr. Ahmed. It is in Quran. We have to behave prisoners for Allah and give them a food. It's very good example. Thank you.
Yeah, very good.
There is still 2. There is still 2 examples.
And I'm sure one of the answers will come from the Nepal. Brother Muhammad is asking for floor, and dear Muhammad, you are most welcome to answer. Alaikum assalam.
I'd like to mention of this one recent incident of Fatih Sultan Mehmet.
I couldn't hear.
Could you raise your voice or get close to the mic, please?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
A little bit better.
Okay, I'd like to mention of this incident of Fatih Sultan Mehmet after the conquest of Istanbul, when he went into the Hagia Sophia, which is now mosque or maybe it's a museum still, and there were the Byzantines there, and when he went there, he treated them fairly, and asked them if they liked, they could continue staying wherever they were staying earlier, or if they want to move or migrate somewhere safer that they consider, they could go there.
Excellent. Thank you
very much. It was a good example from the history, isn't it, Mr. Hassan? Yeah.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. There
Thank
is
you,
just
Mohammed.
one from our Prophet. Very good lesson from our Prophet.
Yeah.
The conquest of Mecca. After that.
Excellent. Yes. When he opened Mecca, they didn't cut any cow. They didn't kill anybody. They say who will go to mosque or go to church or go to some places, we will not attack to them. So it's a good example. Thank you. The last question.
Last question. And why ICRC created the 2005 Comprehensive Report of International Customary Law of IHL? This is the question 6.
Yes. Why they obliged to bring very IHL experts from different regions? Why they bring them?
Yeah. And also we are receiving written answers, and I want to give the floor to Brother Narmish S from Malaysia. He's shared his answer to that question in written format, but I think it will be much more better if you can read and his answer to that question. Dear technical team, could you unmute?
Hello there.
Yes, are you hearing us?
Right. So thank you, Mr. Hassan, for that wonderful sharing session. I would like to answer the question 6. Why actually ICRC created the 2005 report? There are actually two serious impediments, two serious cases whereby treaties. The meaning of treaties is where an agreement between two states. So it's it only applies to states which has been ratified them. And secondly, would be like the humanitarian treaty law does not regulate the sufficient detail, which is the non-international armed conflicts, because these conflicts are subject to far fewer treaty rules than international conflicts. Yeah, these are the main two reasons. That's why the report was created, to compromise the non-international army conflicts as well.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's a good point. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's again because as my friend mentioned, and as I mentioned in my presentation, to make it more legal, okay? Because some people, they say, I don't know the ethical roles, and some countries, they don't recognize this other agreements because they don't sign. So in ethical role, you must binding, and you must not make the civilian face dangerous or any threat. Okay, Mr. Ahmed, I think we have 15 minutes.
Yes, I think we can have 3 or 4 questions with video questions from our dear participants. And those who wants to raise his question, please kindly raise your hand to let me to give the floor. And
so we will finish the first and we will not enter the other one, or we have time to finish the other session?
I mean, we are now out of
because we have other the second session. But if there is a question, I'm in.
Or let's go on to session for another. I mean, because we're supposed to finalize it soon, but I think let's go to the second part. Let's go to the second part.
I will finish the second part in 5 minutes.
Okay. Then we will switch.
It will be very fast. Okay. It's my first time to go very hit. Let's see. Okay. Civilian right, friends. It is under IHL, as I told you. There is civilian. Okay. There is civilian. The civilian, any civilian, medical service, hospitals, not just personal, and their also stuff, their belongs also. All of these is under protecting of IHL. Okay, so during the war, the soldier cannot attack to any civilian. Okay, in any reason, they cannot attack to civilian. This one point we have to understand it. Okay, I will not talk about too much about it. Anything, orphans, bicycles, personnel, hospital, children, every civilian, we cannot attack as soldier. And also, we cannot attack to our nation society's staff, the Red Cross and Red Crescent staff. Okay, so they are working to receive to make the victims receive the supply necessary to be alive. Okay, if the soldier attack to these personnel cannot give a food or supplies necessary to the civilian to stay alive. Okay, so they also have to give the free passage for the humanitarian access. Okay, the party to the conflict, the state or armed group, they must give permission to the nation society staff and their consignments to reach the people in need. Okay, and they must give them special protection, and they give us the ICRC or other nation societies the assistance and other facilities. All facilities they must give. If the conditions are met, okay, if the nation societies are working under the IHL rules, okay, for example, like Turkish Red Crescent want to work, for example, in Gaza or other nation societies, sometimes Israel doesn't give them permission to enter Gaza. It's wrong, you know, and it's against IHL. It's against Geneva Convention. Okay, so because Turkish Red Crescent is impartial, and you as Israel you sign the agreement and now you don't apply. So this is it's against IHL. For example, I give just to make more clear, because the relief activities are neither interference, okay, or hostility act. It is just a humanity acts. You know, the Red Cross and Red Crescent staff, they don't have any weapons or some bad intention. You know, they want to just provide the humanitarian aid for the people in need. The emblems, we have 3 emblems, as I told you. The crystal for Israel Red Crescent, Israel Red Crystal and Red Cross and Red Crescent and Red Cross. The emblem founded by Geneva Convention and additional protocols. There is a 3rd additional protocol, 2005, which is recognized the crystal, the new emblem. There is 2 main emblems, one for a protective use during the war, and the other one is using as a logo. Okay, I'm working during the peacetime. For example, if there is disaster, if there is disaster, the country authorities, they give us special permission to do our mission. Okay, so 2 protective use for wartime, and the other one during the peacetime. It is indicative using. Okay, it must be big. The protective one, it must be not unwritten. You know, you see, not written. So there is just logo. There is no unwritten, to not confused with other emblem. You see, this medical stuff, they don't have any written. It will be not. There is no right. And indicative must be right, you know, with right, and it may global. This one, it must be big as much as can, under building, especially to see the soldier can see that it is protecting place. You see, it must be non-writing. These mean they are medical maybe stuff, for example, a large format and the clear. And by the way, any attack to these, if there is emblem and their attack to them after the war, the court consider this attack as war crime. Okay, don't forget. There is some countries around the world. I would not give you example. You know about it. All the world know about it. They attack to personnel of Red Crescent. Okay, they attack to medical personnel. All of these are war crime. Okay, but unfortunately, because it's not too much fear word, so maybe one time the word will be more fear, you know. If there is a three type of abuse of this emblem, imitation, so confused with other emblem, as this one, you see, they take the emblem of Red Crescent to make it's forbidden, for example. Authority grant, so not authorized to use. For example, if other nation society use our emblem, they abuse our emblem if they use. Just one Red Cross or Red Crescent can use it. The last one, misconduct, which is mean if we use the emblem to save the soldier, for example, you see, this is forbidden. And last subject, we have 5 principles. This is the main principle of the second part of rules. The first part of rules is protecting, as I mentioned before, any personnel, medical staff, or human or any civilian. Okay. The other one, which is they make it, they summarize it in these 5 principles. Okay. The first one, humanity. The second one, military necessity, proportionality in the use of force, for distinction, and the 5-1, prohibition of causing unnecessary suffering. I will explain it, and after that I will finish. We will take the case study and your questions. These 5 principles, when the soldier during the war want to organize attack, or the commando or the leader want to give permission to conduct hostility, to did any act of hostility, to attack, they must considering these 5 principles. Okay, the first one, humanity. So the soldier against me, he is human. Okay, so the first of thing I'm thinking, he is also human. Maybe he wouldn't be in this war, but just because the country give him this mission, otherwise they will give him to prison, for example. So maybe he don't want to fight you. So he is human. Okay, this is the first one. The other one, military necessity. If I will attack, for example, to place, and this place is not, for example, if I kill this, for example, these people, I'm in the plan now, aircraft, and I want to attack to some soldiers in the ground. And if I kill them, I don't have any military necessity. I don't have any advantage. I don't have to kill them. Okay, because I have to take military necessity. Military necessity, it's meaning if you make the attack, you will take advantage, and your soldier, you will win this war. Okay, because the main goal of the war is to win this war, to finish this war. The third one is proportionality in the use of force. Okay, proportionality, the use of war, which is mean if the man against me has a knife, I can't kill him by gun, for example. If he has gun, I have to have gun. It's what proportionality. It must be balanced, the fighting. Distinction mean there is civilian, there is what? There is a soldier. So I have to distinct between the soldier and the civilian. So I can't attack to civilian, I can attack just to soldiers.
prohibition of causing unnecessary suffering, which is mean I cannot use chemical, biological, or other kind of weapons, which is mean after the war will be finished, the people there will be more suffering after the war, you know. Or for example, if there is water, for example, water source, if I attack to this water source, I will make unnecessary suffering for all the people or for all the soldier, because they are human. We must what not making unnecessary suffering. Okay. And for distinction also, if there is if I want to attack to the soldier, but there is beside him civilian, what I can do, I must to wait the civilian go. After that, I have to attack to the soldier. Otherwise, what I will make a war crime. So we must make, for example, the mosque is forbidden. I can't attack to mosque. Okay, but for example, proportionality in the using of force, they say you can use, for example, a clever weapon, okay, smart weapon, which is just you will kill, for example, the soldier who is up the mosque, for example, after under IHL. You cannot destroy the mosque. If you destroy the mosque because there is just soldier inside, you make a war crime. Okay. Now we come to case study, and there is a video I will send you after the by friends after the presentation finish. Mr. Ahmed, we can start the
question and answer session. Huh? Okay. So as Mr. Hassan mentioned, the video link of the second video will be shared with you after the presentation ends. So for the question and answers, please kindly raise your hands to ask questions to our esteemed trainer.
So now if I want to attack, now I'm a soldier, according 5 principles, can I attack to this one? Is it military target, military garrison? Okay, is it or not? If it is, okay. If it's not, why not? If it is also, why not? Why we can attack according 5 principles? Who want to answer the first one? It's easy one, but you must think, because it is case study, you know. Case study make you more thankful, you know. There is military garrison covering a large area, so it's very big area, which has a lot of soldiers inside. But this region, the bad thing is has some civilian suppliers. Suppliers maybe bring food, maybe bring something to this personnel. So can we attack this? Can we destroy this area or region?
Mr. Hassan, Mr. Kerim wants to answer that question.
Yes,
I want to give him the floor.
Okay.
Yes, Brother Kerim.
Merhaba, Mr. Hassan. It depends. If we really need to attack this and it is like causing a danger or something, we have to make it just specific to the soldiers. It cannot be like a massive bombing to all the area and causing the civilians to be injured. And if we look back before 1907, like if we talk about the origins of the scout, when the Lord Smith Baden-Powell got the idea of it, he was in a war with some of the tribes, and they were using the kids to go out and bring the food and the water for the tribe, and they felt safe because the soldiers will not be able to harm them. And this is why he got the idea of having the scout movement to train the kids to be responsible and doing all the things. So what we get from this story is they were safe, and they knew that those soldiers will not harm the civilian kids, even it was in a war zone. So if there's a necessity to kill those soldiers for any safety reason, then it should be specific to those people, not to cause any harm or any problems to other civilians. If not, and it's just a place to give food and supplies for the soldiers along with the civilians, there's no need at all to attack this area.
Okay,
Thank you very much for the contribution.
But consider that there is a military advantage. If we destroy this military garrison, we will take advantage, you know.
Yes, but we have to understand as well that every life counts. So it's not just about killing everyone in the sake of winning the war. It should be a fair war. It should be a war in terms of having equally, and those civilians did not do anything. And if it's not just not following any law, and it just like, as you mentioned, it will be advantage for me, then anyone can drop a huge weapon on the other country, killing everyone, and which is not be a war. In that case, it will be elimination for a nation itself, not just between armies war.
So the law say in the situation like this, you must wait the civilian supply go out this region, then you can destroy this region, or you must use a smart weapon to just to kill, for example, the soldiers or the
directed weapon. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The other one.
Do you want to switch to the second, the B section, Mr. Hassan?
I explain, or there is a guy want to answer.
Let me check.
We don't have time.
I think it will be better to switch, get one answers for each question to give opportunity to our participants to ask you as well a question.
Yes. I think it will be good, because I think let me finish all of this. Okay. Then we get the questions.
Okay. Thank you.
The weapon factory located in the industrial area, which employing civilians, we as the last one, we must waiting, because the civilian working here, okay, according distinction, we must waiting the civilian go out, and we can attack the place at night, for example, to not give damage to civilian, okay, as this distinction, okay. And military advantage, there is a military advantage because it is weapon factory, you know, we will get a good advantage. A shopping center, I'm going to a shopping center that is also used by the family of politicians. They are civilian, and the place is civilian, so it's not military target. Military, the military anti-aircraft unit deployed on the mosque minaret, which is it is not military target, because what? It is mosque, but there is anti-aircraft, so it's make a problem for me, you know, it's make a problem for military advantage. So what I can do, I can use a smart weapon to not destroy the mosque or give any damage to mosque. Okay, I can take your question. I'm sorry for the time. We couldn't feel.
It's a very outstanding presentation and full of insights. So, dear brothers and esteemed participants, and if you have questions, please kindly raise your hands to give you the floor to ask questions to Mr. Hassan. So I am seeing several hands. And I want to give the floor to Ms. Esnaria Salam from Philippines to ask the question. Yes, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Thank you, Mr. Hassan, for a very nice presentation. I do have two questions. One is a series that is related to what you mentioned about the violation of international humanitarian law. We know that this is a very ideal law, but ever since there is so many violations, even medical practitioners are being targeted in some countries. So what happened to these cases? I wanted to ask what is happening to these cases, who can file complaint, and where do we file complaint, and who judges between these cases. The second question is about concerning civilians who are in a military areas or in a conflict areas. What do you do with civilians who are not participating in war but indirectly supporting some parties? For example, they are providing information. So what happens to this? Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Very good two questions. The first one, as I told you, there is some unfortunately violations around the world, but there is no control for them just right now. But after the war finished, United Nations created one court, special court. It is just for treated the violations of war crimes. Okay, so for example, Bosnia war, after it finished, there is some soldier, they give punishment from this court, and after that it closed. This is special court created by United Nations. The other
Mr. Hassan, are you hearing us well?
The other question it was?
Do you need to repeat the question?
Yes, the second one.
So I was asking about civilians who are not part
Yes,
of the war.
okay, got it. Thank you. So the civilian who is supporting, the armed group, for example, or their country, it's not a problem. They can support. Politician, if they support, if they didn't take any weapon in their hand, there is no problem. But when the civilian take in their hand a gun or weapon, their protection is finished.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much both for the question and the very insightful.
It was a good
answer.
question.
And also, if there are another question, I want to give. So if you could just lower your raise your hands if you have question. It's a pretty long one. So I want to give floor to dear Kerim Kabari from Qatar to ask his question.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just forgot to lower my
okay.
hand, but I'm fine.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem. No
Thank you
problem.
so much.
Okay. Muhammad Javad, is it the same case for you as well?
No, I'm good. I can ask it.
So you have a question to raise, or?
Yeah, exactly. In fact,
Yes, please.
first of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Hassan for his beautiful presentation, and I'd even like to thank him for the way Turk Kızılay is working within Turkey and outside. So the thing that I'm going to ask is, it's about an incident 10 years back, the Gaza flotilla raid, where the ships which were taking humanitarian aid to Gaza in 2010, those were attacked by Israel. And how is this thing being taken now? What's the stance like? Has the justice been brought, or what are the legal procedures that are going on, and what is your personal stance on this thing? Could you please answer that, Mr. Hassan?
Yeah, during my presentation, thank you for the question. I mentioned about some violations. Okay, it's just kind of the example you said. Okay, unfortunately, it's unhuman attack, and it's when you look at the law, it is war crime. What Israel did against the civilian, against the medical personnel. But as I told my sister in the first question when she asked, there is any control for violence. Yes, after the war finished, United Nations create a new court, special for this two country or for this war, and after that they can treat who did the violation. But now I think maybe it is a little bit difficult and complicated question and complicated situation. Sorry, it's not easy to solve now.
So I'm sorry to interrupt again, but as we discussed all this while, how the IHL codes were of high standard and meant to be put to perfect stance, but does it not put a question on how it's failing again? Like there are some nations which can take a leeway and escape from the what should I say, the procedures, maybe. Is there not somewhere?
Unfortunately, IHL cannot.
So
I get.
Mm-hmm. So is it not a time that we reconsider the laws, maybe, or how complete the courts are to address the ongoing situation?
Yes, unfortunately, it's as you say. Maybe in the future will be changed. The situation will be changed. I hope. All us, we hope.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think, Mr. Hassan, this is thank you for your contribution. It was a very good presentation about the international humanitarian law. Thank you very much, and inshallah, we are hoping to meet with you also in offline training session. Inshallah, when we finalize, when we overcome this COVID-19 pandemic. But thank you very much again, and I want to thank all the participants for their contributions for this session, and hoping to meet with you in the next volunteerism session, which has been going on for the last 2 weeks. Thank you.
Mr. Ahmed, I wish if you can invite this team to Antalya next year, inshallah, when Corona finished. That time we can explain more things in IHL.
Inshallah. I mean, in the medium-term strategy of ICWave, we are planning to organize that kind of trainings in the member states, and definitely we will meet with these esteemed participants soon in several projects, inshallah.
That would be great. That would be great to invite us over there. Like, it would be a nice experience. Thank you very much for the lecture.
Thank you.